So the Concept OK Focus exhibit is going to be 4 artists from Oklahoma and then 4 artistic projects from Kansas City area artists. The curator for this area, Liza Staton, really met with a lot of artists to try to figure out who would be best together for this first Focus exhibition. She toured 11 studios in Oklahoma, she toured 10 studios in Kansas City before she chose the projects, and she really was interested in what are those intersections between their ideas? Are there materials, are there different approaches that could have some kind of connection? And she ended up feeling like everything was pretty fluid in the way the artists were approaching their work, but that there was almost a network, a map that connected the different projects. And so even though we have sculpture, we have, multimedia constructions, we have video, that there's some connection between their ideas.
I think even as a kid, I've always been, even as a teenager, I'd always been drawing, making pottery out of the clay deposits we had in the backyard, and spending my lawnmower money on watercolors and things like that. So it's always been a big part of my life, and I just continue to work out of mostly homage to older artists who've been important to me, but also to continue on to continue to work, to perhaps be inspirational to younger artists, and really namely my own children, who are both creative in their own ways, and to just keep working is my main thing, to set an example that it's really not okay to quit. I think the work has always had some sort of dedication to what we typically call collage. Not only about the combination of various processes and various materials, but it's like collage to me has a more definite relationship to how our everyday lives work out, how our everyday non-art lives work out. We piece together our days, we piece together our months and our years to try to make things work out one way or the other. And I think that that impermanence has a deeper permanence for me.
I love the fact that when I went into Garry's studio, the first things that you look at is this studio filled with what looks like these paintings, and they look like paintings from afar, and he's made them all out of tape, or these, that funny vinyl that you sometimes line your drawers with or something like that. He's using techniques that are so long ingrained in painting, traditional painting, like trompe l'oeil techniques, and with packing tape, and you just think, well, how does somebody do that?
I've always used materials that are not traditionally seen as art materials. They've been, so-called low materials or base materials. And I think part of my process is to be transformative, not only to the materials, but also to the audience's experience with the work. And I feel like I've certainly transformed myself to turn, negative situations into positive situations, take that negative energy and turn it into something that approaches beauty. The newest work, or at least the work that I've been making since maybe 2005 or 6, has been employing mostly adhesive tapes and vinyls and other found materials such as floor debris. I attach the sticky side of the tape down to the floor, and the impressions of the wood grain will come up. Any debris that's on the floor will pick up with it. So in that sense, it's sculptural in a way, but it's also like monoprinting. There's a couple of large pieces. One is about 150 inches long, but then there are some pieces that are maybe 6 by 6 inches in size. The issues of proportion and scale in the work are the important issues for me to research and solve that relational problem in the work rather than how big is it. When people ask me, well, what's the scale of the work? I know that they want to know how big it is, but they've just asked me a different kind of question.
So his work has this, you know, some of it, he works in these different scales from very, very small, kind of, you know, almost feels like minuscule compared to, you know, large scale, these tapestry type or seemingly like paintings for the lack of a better word, that span pretty broad distances, like 8 feet or 7 feet, and they're not on canvas. They sit directly on the wall. They sit directly against whatever material that he's putting them, you know, against as a support.
Liza Staton, the curator of the exhibition, is one of the most generous people I've been around in the art field. She is in touch with the fact that artists are doing something that's extremely personal, and that for it to then be in this sort of a large public audience, you know, that there's a little bit of tension there, I think, invariably. So Liza's been making that transition extremely easy for me and us. So she has been, I think, spending a little bit of money out of her own pocket for some of our materials to protect the work, which is incredible. And when she knows that we need something having to do with the space or the lighting or anything, that she's right on it on our behalf, and I'm very grateful for it.